So as we move forward in this course, I would love to take a few moments to explain the functionality of some of the tools that we have right here on the status bar. Now, by all means, there are a lot of tools on the status bar that are not here. So to get access to these tools, you go click here and you can check them out. So, but for now, we're explaining some of the basic tools that will be very important in your designs and how they will affect your drawings as well. To the left right here is the display grid line. So this button simply divides the workspace just like a graph, so into equal gradations of both your x and your y axis. So you can see how it is displayed right here. You could switch it off by deactivating, find that it's gone, and then you could bring it back up. Now it might not seem important now, but in combination with other buttons right here in the status bar, it could really help to make a very efficient and accurate drawing. So just the right of it, you find your snap to polar angles. Now this is your snap mode button. You find out by clicking on this down facing arrow right here that we have two type of snap mode feature right here. So we have the polar snap and we have the grid snap. Now what happens with the polar snap is that it snaps your insert point along a particular distance. Could be 10 millimeter, inches, 20, 30, but you have to specify it in your on your snap settings. And for the grid snaps your insert point to your grid lines. So whatever distance that you've set for your grid lines, that is what the grid snap will do. So it will snap your insert point to each graduations in your grid lines. Let me show you what I mean. Let's assume I click on any line or polyline, and okay, so you can find out now that as I'm about to move, you see the insertion point there right here, and you can see that it's not moving fluidly together with the cursor, but rather it is moving at a particular distance, jumping through. So according to the setting, it is moving at 10 millimeter. So that is what was set in a setting. So if for example you are making a drawing and you set this to be moving at 20 millimeter, then by allowing it to move 5 times, you've automatically moved your point to 100 millimeter from your first point. So it helps your drawing to be efficient, easy, accurate, and very fast as well. Also, we have the grid snap, like I said before. So the grid snap snaps your insertion point to the grid lines that we have there. For example, each of the grid lines are about 0.5 millimeter as I set in the snap setting. So you see the insertion point, you see how it is. Let me zoom closer so you could have a look. Okay, so you see the graduations, each movement there. Okay, so if I should click on line and move, okay, now you can see the insertion point, how it is moving. And let me click on line so I bring back the reference lines. Okay, so you see the insertion point every 0.5, every 0.5, every 0.5. So it follows the graduations of the grid lines. Okay, you could come here, click on the down facing arrow to check your snap setting, and dialog box appears. And right here, if you have your grid snap activated, this part of the setting will also be activated. So your X spacing and your Y spacing. Over here, you could increase your X spacing to whatever figure you want. And of course, if you want equal spacing for both x and y, you could verify. Or if you just want a different spacing for x and a different spacing for y, you check this box. Let me show you what I mean. Assuming I come here, double click, and I want the spacing to be just 3. I have this checked. You find out that if I just click here, it automatically moves to 3 because I have the equal here checked. Now, but if I uncheck this and let me click, and let's say I move here to 5, and I come down to the y snap setting, and you find out that this is not moving to 5, it's just 3. So I could change this to 10 if I wish, and that change is not going to be affected on the air service unless I click on equal, and then the y automatically changes to 5. So let's take it to 0.5. 0.5. Yeah, that is it. Now, but if you are switching to the polar snap, you select this radial button, you find out that the setting over here is greater because now we are not on radial snap. And radial polar snap, and polar snap only deals with distance, just distance at a particular angle. Now this is set to 10, so I could decide to change it to 30, 40, 50 to suit what I want. So that is it. Now we also have some settings here. These are basic settings. We will discuss this later, so but we would love to leave the settings as it is. So let's click on OK. So that is that. Also, to the right here we have the dynamic input. So like we've said before in a previous video, one of the basic way of entering commands into AutoCAD is simply by typing this command here on the command line. And also it's also another way AutoCAD also communicates back to you. But another way of doing that is by using the dynamic input. So this dynamic input is an alternative to entering command through the command line. So for example, the dynamic inputs is now asking me to specify start point, just like the command line we also ask me to do here. So I could specify the start point right there, and I could also type in the blue showing up there. It's telling me that it's activated, that I should type in my distance, and I could type in whatever distance that I want. Assuming I type in 30, and then I press the tab to shift to angle, because now I'll specify the distance. So what angle am I going to place that point? So I could decide to put in angle 60 again. Now then I've placed it. So the dynamic inputs allows you to input information into AutoCAD as regard your drawing. It is an alternative. It doesn't entirely replace your command line, but in some areas it's an alternative to inputting commands through your command line. So the reason it's called dynamic input is because it moves along with the cursor, so it's dynamic. So you can input your information while you draw. Let's click escape. Then to the right of this is your restrict cursor orthogonally. Now these buttons help you to restrict your cursor vertically or horizontally. So if you have a drawing that you want to make, and all the lines in that draft that you want to make, or the drafting that you want to make, or the drawing itself that you want to make, are either horizontal or vertical, and it has to be, so you want to make sure they are perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical. One way of doing that is by activating your restrict cursor orthogonally. Now I click on line. Now you can see that I can, as I'm placing my line, I can move my line at any angle, the second point or the next point, and at any angle that I want to place it. But immediately I click on restrict cursor orthogonally, I could no longer do that. So what happens is that the button right there reduces or restricts the status of the orientation of my line to either vertical or horizontal. So I have no choice than to move vertically or horizontally. So it's what it does. To the right of it is the restrict cursor at a specific or specified angle. So this allows you to restrict your cursor, which is your insertion point, at a specified angle. For example, you could see that as I move my cursor around this point here, you can see that at a particular point the insertion point snaps and the reference line indicates, showing that that is one of the specified angle that point is restricted to. Now it's not as if I can't click on it. It's not as straight as the orthogonal, but it also gives me the information of the specified angles that are placed down there in the settings. So I think is restricted at angle 30. So I could also restrict it to, let's check, let's come here. You can click on that small arrow there, down facing arrow. Okay, and you can see, yeah, set angle 30. So I can restrict it to angle 90, 180 as well, every 90 degree. Yeah, so it is straight at every 19 degree, not very straight though. I could also place a point at any angle that I want, but it gives me the restriction and it gives me the information, whereby showing me reference that this is one of the specified restricted angle that I have formatted my setting to reflect. So it's very important that we have these settings, because it helps your drawing to be fast and it helps you to work efficient, and it also helps you to work very, very accurately as well. Now I want to take some time to also introduce you to the settings that we have here, that you could also make new track settings. So by clicking on the setting there and come here, polar track F10, now this is 90. You could create additional angle. You could make your additional angle here and say, okay, this is the one that I want my own angle. I want angle 23, so which is new, and then you could, let's assume I click 23. So in the tuner angles, I click OK. Let's go and check. Alright, now we see that we have 23. So once I click on 23 and click on, let me say, line, and you can see that every 23 degree it restricts my cursor or snaps my insert point with reference line at every 23 degree. So you can also delete it as well. I don't need it, just for demonstration's sake. So I could also take on to the track setting, click on it, and click delete. Okay, so I don't need that. Okay, good. So to the right we have our isometric drafting, which is switched off. So right now you find out that you are in your X and Y plane, but what about if you want to make your isometric drawing? This is where you come to. You click on it, and you can click on the down facing arrow, and you can change your workspace to isometric left or isometric top. So you want to make sure it's activated first. Okay, make sure it's activated. So now you could change to isoplane left, isoplane top, or right. So whichever plane you want to switch to. Let me show you what it's like to be in the isoplane. Now let's assume I click on polyline, and also let's assume you also apply restrict cursor orthogonally. Now remember that we said that the restrict cursor orthogonally will restrict your cursor to vertical and horizontal. So you see that now that we've activated our isometric drafting button, you see that our cursor is restricted to horizontal isometric plane. So for the isometric left that we have here, this is how the horizontal is like. So this is how it goes. And then for your isometric top, okay, so your vertical and your horizontal changes as well. So once you've gotten yourself familiarized with this, it becomes easy for you to make your isometric drawing. Now, although there are other alternative of creating isometric drawing in AutoCAD, but this button here helps it to be very efficient, quick and fast. Now, merged with your direct input method of entering information or entering numerical information into AutoCAD, it makes the drawing very, very fast, easy and efficient. So that is that. Okay, so over here is show snap reference line. So this has been activated and we have been seeing its function, but now we introduce us to it. Now what this does is that it creates a reference line at a snap point. Let me show you again what I mean. Okay, first let's get out of your isometric plane. Escape. Okay, you activate the restrict cursor to go now. Okay, so this reference line that we are seeing here is being activated by our show snapped reference line. So it creates a reference line at a snap point. Create a snap point there, create a reference line at the snap point as it moves along the snapped point. So to the right too is our snap cursor to 2D reference point. So this button here snaps cursor to 2D reference point. It's very important, as during the course of your design or your career using AutoCAD, you are going to discover that it will be very, very difficult for you to make accurate drawings or meet lines together without using your snap cursor button. Now let's assume I click on line, and let's assume that this one is not functional. Now, and right here I want to try to start a line from the end of this line right here, and I'm going to try to eyeball it. Okay, yeah, since I've created a line over there, we will check it later. Now this is without using the object snap button, and then I've switched on the object snap button. I'm right here. So now let's check which is more accurate. Now remember that while meeting these lines together, it took me time. I was very careful trying to make sure that I meet the start point of this line to the end point of this line, but no matter how careful, they never met at the common point. That was because the object snap is not on. But you saw how quickly it took me to meet this line, the two edges of this line together, and it's very, very accurate. That is because the object snap is on. So the object snap helps us to snap points accurately, especially at end points, midpoints, center point. There are a lot of object snap. You have midpoint, center point, end point, node, quadrant. By clicking on this down facing arrow here, you see the different object snap that we have. They are all checked. Now one good practice there is that since you don't know the object snap that you might need, it's better you check all of them. You have all of them checked, so that during the process of your design, when it gets to the midpoint or center point, the object snap your setup where it gets activated. When it comes to midpoint, it gets activated automatically. And to do that, you go to your object snap settings. So this is where you select all, or you clear all, and you can make some individual selection. So I'm going to select all, but there are situations where selecting all might not be that advantageous. Why? Because as you start making very complex drawings, especially making 3D models, you find out that trying to insert a point could be hell. The reason is because all the snap features are all activated since you've selected all. So you might find out that you are trying to make endpoint snap, and the midpoint snap or center point snap is causing a problem, is distracting you. So while you are looking for a way to snap to endpoint, midpoint get activated instead, and clicking your line, it snaps to a center point or endpoint or midpoint. So in that cases where there is confusion, you just come to your snap settings over here, and you can click clear snap and then pick the snap functions that you want to be activated, and then click OK. So it helps in that case. So but in our case, for the meantime, I am going to select all. It's okay. Now to the right is show or hide line width. Now for some of us who have done the technical or engineering drawing, now we don't know that some lines in our technical engineering drawing sheet are thicker than some lines. Some lines are construction lines, some lines are thicker, some lines are lighter, so as to be able to pass the engineering information, the right engineering information. We also have that in AutoCAD too. For example, if I should, under line properties panel, if I should change the thickness of this line to this, you find out that the line width increases, which also is another word for thickness as well. So the line width increases, but if I also want my line, even though it has that line width properties, if I also want it to still display as a normal default lines for conveniency, I could come here and hide my line width. So the feature is still there, but within the feature, so it's not displayed now. So I can use it, modify it, and do other stuff. With it. But once I want to print my drawing, the line width automatically choose here, so I could also bring it back. Now to the right here is selection recycling. Now once you are making a drawing in AutoCAD, or you are drafting in AutoCAD, especially in 3D models, if you are making 3D models, or you are making a drawing which has lines, polylines, 3D solid 3D model spilled all over the places, now it might be very difficult for AutoCAD to understand what you want to highlight. It might be very difficult. So for AutoCAD to highlight the specific item or object that you want highlighted for modification, the best thing is to activate your selection recycling. This is the way AutoCAD helps us to highlight or select a particular object accurately without being distracted by some other object. Now in the course of a drawing, especially in 3D model, you find out that you might be making solid 3D models that are closely spaced or packed together. So to be able to pinpoint and highlight a particular drawing, or to separate line or line from polyline, or line from circle, then look at that, look, I want to highlight circle, or I want to highlight this 3D model, the best tool that you can use for that is your selection recycling. It could be hell if you don't know how to use a selection recycling, if you don't know about it during the course of your design. It could be hell. You could even take your time just trying to select the right object from your drawing. So selection recycling is really important. Now, like I said before, there are more buttons or more tools that you can find or you can add to your status bar. So at your own leisure time, you could learn about them. You would go through all these tools. They are very easy. So the basic ones that I just explained are the ones that is going to get us started, and they are the ones that are very important. Others are important as well, but as time goes, you find out that they are very easy, and just click on them and see how they work, and you get along pretty well with those tools. So that brings us to the end of this video.